The association of amazing devotees like you gives warmth, so I don't think there is cold inside the temple hall, and everybody is comfortable. The topic for today is duty. We talk about duties a lot. This is your duty, that is your duty. We all understand the glories of duty, as in that when a person is known for fulfilling his duty, for going beyond, above all difficulties and facing the biggest challenges, even in that challenge, being able to fulfill their duty, they are glorified, irrespective of what we call the duty as. In so many cases, we are saying, you have to do this because this is your duty. No matter what is happening, this is your priority because this is your duty. This is not optional. This has to be done for sure. That is how we have always been defining duty as, right? We've always been putting it very high up in our standards of that this has to be done. But what is the duty? What is our duty? What is it we're supposed to be calling as duty? That is what the topic for today is going to be. Okay? So because we have always heard this term, we've heard this in many different contexts, right? We've heard this in the context of when we were giving the tests for citizenships for Canada or any other similar thing. The duty of a citizen is XYZ. Every citizen of a country is supposed to be doing that. Every country sets up certain things as being, you have to give votes. You have to follow the rules of the country. Whatever it is, those are your duties as a citizen. Similarly, we define duties of saying, you as a human being, this is your duty. And we call that humanity. Then if you're not doing these things, then you cannot call yourself as human, you're lacking humanity as a whole. Fine, okay, so those are things being compassionate to others, caring for others, all of those things. We also call those as duties. Then we also say, okay, because you're working in a certain organization, as an employee, you have a certain duty to ensure you have maintaining data security and all the other things that come in, ensuring keeping customers first, even though it's said never done. But all those things that we're saying is duties, or even as parents. As parents also, we define duties as being saying taking care of the child, making sure they have the very strong moral foundation, they become very good people. And they contribute well to the society overall, and they are successful in life. That is the duty as a parent. But then we're talking of so many different things as duties. Is that a good thing of talking so many duties? Is that a problem or is that a good thing? Because when we say, when you're growing up, even when you're even in a professional world, when you're getting promotions, you're growing up in your professional career, then you get more responsibility. And you say more responsibility means good, you're growing up. So does this many duties that we talk about saying, okay, this is your duty as a citizen also, as a parent also, as this and that, and so many different duties that we have assigned to ourselves and to people around us, is that so many duties a good thing? We'll talk about that in detail. But the one thing that does strike me immediately when I was thinking about this as a topic was, these so many duties that we have defined, what it does is it creates confusion for us. Right? Duty, as we started as a topic, was supposed to be defining what we are supposed to do. It is supposed to be that guiding beacon, which was supposed to be telling us what has to be done, what should not be done, what should be prioritized versus others. But with all of these duties, the things that we are calling as duties, we end up coming into a confusing state. Now we are conflicting with things, right? Let's take an example. As a human being, we say we're supposed to be compassionate towards others, not hurt others. We agree to that? Right? As a soldier of a country who is at the battlefield is supposed to be killing the enemy. That is your duty as an army personnel, as a defense personnel, right? Now aren't these two conflicting with each other? Or let's take another example, the one that we'll probably more relate to. As parents, we're supposed to be very loving and caring towards the children, right? Not shouting at them, making them feel loved, safe, secure at home. But we also act as teachers for them. And then we scold them, and we punish them. Aren't these conflicting? Because as parents and as a teacher for the child, we're again having two different duties, and they're conflicting with each other now. Or let's say, for example, you have a friend, or you are a police officer, and you end up coming into a situation where one of your friends is now an offender. What are you going to do now? You want to be forgiving to a friend, or as a police officer, you are duty bound to instate the law or enforce the law. So again, confliction, right? So when we're talking of all of these different things, when we're talking of all of these different duties, there's a fundamental flaw in it, and we will come to that. But the way we have been defining duties overall, the way we have been identifying duties overall, there is a flaw in it because it leads to confusion and it leads to contradictions in some sense. And then, with principles like these, we are very easily talking about things such as, oh, I'm a good person, I don't hurt anybody. Or I'm a person, for me to be a good person, I just have to make sure that I'm fulfilling my duties. Is that even possible for us to do when we come up into such conflicting positions? We can never make a statement such as, I always, in all circumstances, fulfill my duties if we define the duties the way we did it right now. So what is that? We'll have to refer now to an expert. The matter has gone to a higher court. Now we refer to the expert over here, who is the founder Acharya of ISKCON, His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta from Srila Prabhupada. Right? So and this is referring to an amazing lecture. I really loved him saying that. This is September 2nd, 1966 in New York. Was given a class of Bhagavad Gita, okay, chapter 6. And he says there are two kinds of duties. So for us to be able to understand what needs to be done, what does not need to be done, if we are in a conflicting situation, we always have to end up prioritizing things. Which rule trumps over the other one? Right? You're not supposed to be killing anyone, but if you're in a situation of self-defense, it's okay for you to kill as a method of self-defense. this, right? So we have hierarchy to rules. In the same way, now, and for us to be able to do that, we have to categorize things. So Srila Prabhupada very beautifully would categorize duties for us. He said duties can be coming in two ways. One, either we are serving illusion or we are serving reality. So anything that comes in as a duty, which falls under the bracket of serving illusion, is one category. And the other category is anything that we are doing as duty which serves the reality, is the second category. So that helps us to categorize. But what does that actually mean? So, serving the reality. What is reality? So, one is on a body and the other is a soul. You all understand that because you have read and heard multiple times, right? Anything that we are associating with the temporary body is illusion, because the body itself is temporary. So anything that we have identified and associated with ourselves as being a duty on the grounds of the body will be an illusion for sure. So anything that we define as being a duty on the basis of the body is nothing but serving illusion. That is what Srila Prabhupada is telling you. And on the other hand, what is reality is a true identity as a spirit soul. And that spirit soul which is full of, which is eternal, full of bliss, full of knowledge, identifying that as reality and then defining duties on that ground is what is we're saying as the duties which serve reality and not illusion. Now in another very beautiful lecture, Srila Prabhupada quotes a nice verse. And this is in a room conversation actually. He's quoting verse 41 from chapter 2. For those who know, you can recite with me. Vyavasmika buddhi ekha kuru nandana bahu shakha hai anantayascha buddhya avyavasitam. So what the verse is saying is very interesting. It's talking about buddhi, the one who is intelligent. And one who is intelligent, who is perfect in knowledge, Prabhupada says in the translation also, is the one who is Vyavasaka Atmika Buddhi, which means one who is resolute, who is intelligent, who understands things properly. So one who is understood, one who is intelligent would understand the purpose of our existence, would understand the purpose of everything that we are supposed to be doing for. And so, whatever they are doing is resolute in that one purpose that we have identified and understood. So, when an intelligent person is talking about duties, anything that they define as duties or anything they talk about as performing duties is resolute to one purpose. That is an intelligent person. He's also talking about the person who is not falling in this category would be something who is Bahu Shakha. Shakha is branches. Bahu means many. Right? So one who is not like that, one who is not on that platform of intelligence, would have their purpose, their resolute is multi-branched. And what does that mean is what we just talked about. My duty as, my duty as, my duty as. Now we are defining so many different branches of our duties. All of that is showing that we are not resolute in purpose, we are not intelligent. So that is how it would help us. So again coming back to the two categorization. One is when we are identifying ourselves as a spirit soul, an eternal servant of Krishna, and defining duties on that ground, that gives us one single resolute purpose, which means we are on the path of intelligence. The other Srila Prabhupada categorizes is if we are serving illusion, which is defining duties based on multiple branches, based on the body and how we are giving designations to these different bodies, is what we are calling as not being intelligent. Right? So very simply, very easily, we have kind of done a very good categorization over here, but we will talk about the gray areas also, right? So what happens in this case is, when we have defined that any duty that we are defining on the basis of the body, would other duties that go away with the body itself. So it cannot be associated with the eternal self. So when we are defining duties such as, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing as a parent, this is what I have to do as a citizen, I was born as a citizen of India, then I changed my citizenship to be Canadian, now my duties have changed. These are not eternal duties. These keep changing. Right? So these duties cannot be the one which should be prioritized because those are temporary. That does not help you in the long term. When we said the duties are something which gives you a purpose and which gives you an understanding of what has to be done, these duties which is defined on the grounds of the body can only be giving you a temporary purpose, not a permanent purpose. And when we are not solving the permanent purpose and focusing only on the temporary, the benefits, the gains that we get is also going to be temporary just by focusing on something which is temporary. Right? So that's kind of the root cause of it. So we are always in a state of confusion. Right? I said, there's so many people who talk about things such as, the purpose of life and what I'm supposed to be doing in life is just be nice and good, not do wrong to anybody else. Right? Or we would say something like, I just don't want to hurt anybody else, and I think I'm good in living my life in that particular way. That is a good life. Is it ever possible for us to be in a position, understanding the fact that these duties, these responsibilities based on the body are always conflicting with each other, can we ever be in a position where we are not hurting or doing wrong to anybody else? We cannot, right? Let's take a few examples just to understand that. I want to make sure that I am doing good by doing the best of my job at my workplace. I get my promotions, get a good salary, and use that salary for the pleasure of my family, and etc., etc. Right? That's a good purpose. But when I'm doing that, am I not depriving others of that high designation points which I fought for and won that position out of my hard work? I've deprived somebody else of that position, so did I do good to them? The goodness and the bad in all of these contexts is all subjective. There's no objectivity to it. So when we say I'm going to be good and I'm not going to hurt anybody else, that's a very subjective statement, because what we're saying is somebody hurting me or not is dependent on how you perceive the facts to be. A child would always say, my mother and my father, they always keep scolding me, they are so bad. I've got the worst parents. Every child has said that, sometime or the other, right? We said that, our children are going to say that to us. But from the parents' perspective, that's a duty that they're trying to fulfill. There's a conflict, right? So these are not subjective because they're not resolute in purpose as being focused with the true identity. That is where the problem becomes. There is no strong guiding principle that is defining us. Now, Srila Prabhupada, in one of his conversations very beautifully, has said, it's actually in the purport for Bhagavad Gita, and he said, we talk about doing good to others and everything, and being non-violent is being a very good attribute to have, like not committing violence, because we see violence to others as being something hurting, but I think the biggest act of violence that we commit is not being Krishna conscious ourselves and not helping others to be Krishna conscious. Why is that? That is because when we are not Krishna conscious ourselves and not helping others be Krishna conscious, then we are letting people suffer and make ourselves suffer by the modes of material nature, by the repeated birth, old age, disease, and death, by the threefold miseries that come in, the Adhyatmik, Adhibhautik, and Adhyatmik. So all these three types of miseries, we are letting people suffer. We are letting them suffer because of birth, old age, and disease, and we are also doing it ourselves. So that is an act of violence. An analogy and a perspective of that to be understood is, you're walking by a well, and then you hear these cries for help coming in from within the well. You would stop, and you will peek down, and you see a person stuck over there. Hey, what happened? I'm stuck here for 2 days, I've not ate anything. It's so cold over here. I don't even have anything to drink. This is a dry well. I said, oh, your problem is you don't have anything to eat or drink or wear? No, here. You just throw in something in there and you walk away. Did you do good to that person? What was the actual help you should have given to that person? To take them out of that situation, right? So when our goodness and the definition of our duties on the basis of the body is something on the similar platform. We're saying, person, you're hungry, I'll feed you. Or you don't have a home, I'll give you some place to sleep or crash, like I'll give you a sleeping bag, and you still be outside in the cold. In any different ways, what we are not helping them is solve the root cause of the problem by them making them Krishna conscious. So that is why Srila Prabhupada said it is still an act of violence. When you are capable of giving that identity to somebody else, giving that knowledge to somebody else, if we don't do that, we are committing an act of violence. Right? So that is where now two categorizations done. Our duties, anything that we're defining out of illusion, then has to be on a lower priority. Not that, just to clarify, not that the duties based on the body does not have to be performed, but it is lower priority as compared to the other duties. Let's just quickly talk about the other duties for a second, and then we will talk about the relative comparisons and all of those things. So the duties which is based on a true identification as that of a soul is the real duty. And what is our true identity? Jivire Swarupa Hoy, Krishna Nitya Das. Very clearly said that our true identity is that of a spirit soul, an eternal spirit soul, which is eternally a servant of Krishna. So as an eternal servant of Krishna, our duty foremost is to serve Krishna. Now when we are serving Krishna, that can be done in many different ways. But as I said, what Bhagavad Gita verse said was the purpose is resolute. The purpose is resolute that you have to serve Krishna. That resolute purpose can be achieved in many different ways, in many different styles based on your time, place, and circumstances, your own skill sets, everything else taken into factor. That purpose can be achieved in many different ways, but that purpose is resolute that I have to serve Krishna. Krishna is the master of everything, and whatever we have to do is to be done for his pleasure. That's single resolute. Not that I have to please my country, not that I have to please my family, not that I have to try and please my employers, not that I have to try and please my community, and so on and so forth. And you're not trying to please multiple people, you're trying to please Krishna. But Krishna is the source of everybody. Everything, both spiritual and material, he says that very clearly. It's not just, he's the creator of the material world, he's actually the source for both spiritual and material. So when we are trying to serve Krishna with that strong purpose, we will serve everybody else also indirectly. That's a skill that we learn as part of the process of Krishna consciousness. Now, how do we do all of this? And how is this supposed to be executed? How many of us have Srimad Bhagavatam set at home? Very nice. Very beautiful. Thank you. So, in the Canto 6, what is the title of the 6th Canto of Srimad Bhagavatam? Anybody remembers? It's called Prescribed Duties of Mankind. So, if we read that entire canto, I read it sequentially, but that 6th canto of Bhagavatam is where we can very clearly understand how are we supposed to be living the life as human beings, as souls who have been lucky enough or blessed enough to get a human form of body. What are we supposed to be doing? So in the 6th canto, what are the different leelas? And we can try and very quickly summarize and understand from those leelas what has to be done. The first leela that comes in the 6th canto is the leela about Ajamil. How many of you know that leela? Is there anybody who does not know? So Ajamil is this person who's born in a very Brahmanical family, very nice saintly family. But due to bad association, he ends up going into a state where he marries a prostitute and gets into all sorts of irreligious activities. But one step taken towards Krishna consciousness always stays with us. It's confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. So because of his initial set of services that he performed with his father, he was blessed with that. With the intelligence to call his son as Narayan. So at the end, he is calling. At the time of his death, he was calling his son Narayan out of love, and then, please come and save me. Narayan, come and save me. And Narayan, being Krishna himself, he took it as this is causeless mercy. Saying, you're calling Narayan, I'm Narayan. Not your son Narayan, you're calling me. And in that, he was blessed by the presence of the Vishnu Dutas. And the conversation, this is beautiful, you should try and read if you have not already read, the conversation between the Vishnu Dutas and the Yamadutas, and then the conversation that happens between the Yamadutas and the Yamaraj really helps us put things into context and perspective. The idea is, from this, when we were talking about the prescribed duties of mankind, this means the chanting of the glories of the holy name of Lord. That is what we learn very strongly. And this example of Ajam is always given to glorify the potencies of the holy names of the Lord. So that's one of the prescribed duties, chant. Right? So when we are chanting, we are purifying ourselves. The process of chanting, if you've not read Chant and Be Happy, very beautiful book. It explains very nicely how this process of chanting actually purifies us within. And that cleanliness that happens is what gives us the clean vision to be able to see things as they are, which is to understand things on a spiritual platform, seeing spirit souls and not the bodies. And that is what is going to give us that vision to give us and prioritize the duties that has to be done. The next one is the Leela about Narada Muni. The Narada Muni is cursed that you cannot stay in one place. And now he has to travel in all the different places. How did he take that? He is understanding very nicely of what is the resolute purpose, what is the objective of everything. He says, even if there is a difficult circumstance, I know it is in my favor, it is the Lord's mercy. And even in difficult circumstances, I am supposed to be performing my duty no matter what. That is what we can learn from that Leela, where very clearly, even in difficult situations, we are supposed to be doing our duties. We are supposed to be seeing that yes, everything is an arrangement by the Lord for me to be able to perform my duty. Okay? And also the other way to look at it also is, if I am determined that I have to serve the Lord, then all arrangements to be able to serve the Lord happens. We have to take the first step. Yesterday we were out doing book distribution, and this very nice person who comes and talks, he says, I really want to read the Bhagavad Gita. It's wonderful. It's right here, pick it up. But saying, you know what? I really want to read, but I don't have the Bhagavad Gita at home and I can't take it home. I said, why? His rationality was, I cannot take the Bhagavad Gita at home because you have to keep Bhagavad Gita very respectfully. And I'm a bachelor over here living in shared apartments. I cannot maintain that cleanliness and that respectful environment for the Bhagavad Gita to reside in my place. What do I do? Right? So because of that, I will not take the Bhagavad Gita and I will not read the Bhagavad Gita, even though I have the desire to read the Bhagavad Gita. So, this situation that we are in, if we start talking about this conversation, let's talk about it in an analogy form, in a humorous way. Say, my hands are dirty, I cannot touch the soap. The soap will become dirty because my hands are dirty, I cannot touch the soap because the soap will become dirty. What happens when we touch the soap? Does the soap become dirty or does the hand become clean? Right? So in the same ways, these are different ways in which, because of how we think and perceive things, we have to understand that every situation that we are in is actually a mercy of the Lord to help us become more Krishna conscious. If we are saying and identifying the fact that we are unclean in any aspect, that's the first step. We should take that as a blessing, say, oh, I am unclean, I need to do the process of cleanliness. So if you are unclean, in any sense you feel it that way, then start the process of cleanliness. Take the Bhagavad Gita. When you don't have it at home, how will you read? It's like a situation saying, I want to read, but I will not take. And because I have not taken, I will not read. What comes first? So start the process of taking the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is very merciful. That is what we see from the Leela of Narada Muni being cursed and saying, no matter what situation is falling onto me, I am going to take that beautifully and understand what I am supposed to be doing and use that in the favor. Right? Any situation can be used in the favor for your elevation in Krishna consciousness. Then we talk about the Leela where Indra gets cursed. All of this cursing that is happening in the Bhagavatam is nothing but merciful thing. Now, Indra, why was he cursed? Whom did he kill? He killed a Brahmana. Because, again, I'll not get into the details of the Leela, but he killed a Brahmana because he had to. He had to for the overall well-being. And killing of a Brahmana is a great sin. Right? An offense against a Vaishnava, killing a Brahmana is a great sin, and he does suffer because of that. He knew he would suffer because of that. But he still knew what his duties were because he was resolute in his purpose of understanding that I have to ensure that I am serving Krishna by maintaining religious principles around over here. That is my duty. yes, my duty for being Krishna conscious, right? To maintain the religious principles. So he said, no matter what is happening, it's okay. Even if I am suffering, the different type of sufferings that mentioned that he goes through and the way he resolves them is all he's saying. No matter if I'm even getting suffered in the path of my duties, I will still do it. That is again a learning for us. And then the next is Vritasura. And again, this very beautiful set of leelas where he is born into a devotee born as a demon is now having to fight, and he's fighting till the very end, saying, I've been assigned the duty of doing of glorifying Krishna by acting as a demon, and then doing things in which the glories of the Lord ultimately prevails, and we are able to demonstrate that good always wins over the evil. So I'm going to fight till the very end. He's actually the one who's saying, come kill me, you're supposed to be doing that. That's a very interesting lila in which, no matter what is happening, in all of these cases, we're supposed to be ensuring that the principles of spirituality, the principles based on the spiritual identity of us always having to serve Krishna and that being our topmost and prior duty, is followed as examples, they are shown as examples to us, and we are supposed to be following all of these examples also. So in these ways, we can very clearly see that there are so many examples in front of us in which the main purpose, the main duty of serving Krishna is been identified and has been followed in no matter what. But there's a caveat, there's a star. Every time there's a deal that comes out, there's a star, terms and conditions apply. The star over here, which what happens is you have to use our intelligence. The intelligence that you're supposed to be using is to understand that we don't have to become fanatic. Okay? Now, these religious principles really help us in cases, let's take an example. Arjuna. Right? It's a very clean example in the sense that Arjuna being on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, now having to decide between do I do my bodily duties of ensuring that the safekeeping and the good towards my family members and my gurus and my elders and the well-being of my family versus I fighting the war of Mahabharata and battlefield of Kurukshetra because Krishna is saying. Because of the two principles the two categorizations that we did for duties, in this case it's a very clean cut categorization. One is on the bodily level, the 4 reasons that he gives in the first chapter and then concludes with the 5th reason in the second chapter are all on the bodily platforms by identification of the body. On the other hand stands the principle of Krishna consciousness where you're supposed to be doing things as Krishna is saying. The prioritization is pretty simple and hence Arjuna ends up fighting that war. But then there are different situations in which things get a little murky. It comes into the gray area. We are supposed to be using our intelligence to always understand the principle. We're not supposed to be going up and saying it is my religious duty to do certain things. It is on the name of religion that certain things is being done, and so it always prevails above everything else and become fanatic about it. What does that mean? It's saying we kind of identify saying things that there are certain aspects that the religious principles talk about should not be done, should be defended, things that we should try and avoid happening in the society. We get fanatic about it and just we go and start fighting with people, doing things which become irreligious on the name of protection of religion. But the fact is we forget what is the principle. What was the principle we said is being Krishna conscious and making people Krishna conscious. In the Kali Yuga, the principle prevails always is that we ourselves are supposed to be elevating our consciousness and helping killing the ignorance among others to elevate their consciousness. When we talk about things such as kill the evil, when we say kill the evil, what happens is when we start becoming fanatic on the religious principle, we say the religious principle is to kill the evil around us. Right? That if we articulate it in that way, then we say, oh, you are evil, I'm going to kill you, you are evil, I'm going to kill you, you are evil, I'm going to kill you. That is becoming fanatic now. And this is just an extreme example though, but in many cases we become very fanatic about religious principles in our day-to-day life. We are supposed to be understanding the reason behind everything and understanding that the overall main objective purpose of we being able to be Krishna conscious and helping others to be Krishna consciousness stands and trumps any other things, even if it means inconvenience to us, even if it means certain other principles being not met. Let's take an example, and that so Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela, chapter 10. This is where this beautiful Leela comes in, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has a personal servant who does services for him called Govind. Now, he has services. One of the services that he has been assigned is to massage Lord Chaitanya's lotus feet after he has had prasad, and now he's taking a little rest. Lord Chaitanya never takes rest, but as a manifestation of his Leela, right? So, the routine would always be Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would have his meal, his prasad, would go, lie down, rest, and Govinda would go and start massaging his feet very nicely, would do it for the time that he's supposed to do very nicely, making the Lord comfortable, and then go and have his prasad. One time, just to be able to establish this as a principle of what is higher principle, what is lower principle, and helping us understand we're not supposed to be fanatic and we're supposed to be able to understand how principles needs to be prioritized, he does this Leela. He has this prasad, and now he goes and lies down at the door of a room. Okay? So the way he does that specially is, he lies down with his head outside the room and his feet inside. And this is a room where there is no other entrance available. Okay? Now, one of the principles that exists in the Vaishnava culture, or anyways overall, is for anybody who is respectable and who's especially a Vaishnava, you're not supposed to be jumping over their bodies. So that's why when you're sitting like here, like this, and somebody has to walk through the crowd because there's to do some service, usually indicate with the hand that I want to go, please make some room, so that you're not jumping over the Vaishnava's body. That's a Vaishnava etiquette. Again, a book that has to be read, the Vaishnava etiquettes. But so that's a Vaishnava etiquette because you're not supposed to be jumping on. And Govinda knows that. And this is a principle, we're not supposed to be jumping over a Vaishnava's body, especially not Lord Chaitanya's body. But now he has to perform his duty of massaging their feet, and the feet are inside the room, and the only way to enter the room was to jump over Lord Chaitanya. He very subtly says, Mahaprabhu, can you please move a little so that I can go in and do my service? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in order to do his Leela, is ignoring him completely. But then finally he thinks and weighs things out. He jumps over Lord Chaitanya, goes inside the room and massages. But then he keeps sitting over there, he does not jump over him again to go and take his prasad. Because he understands very clearly that my breaking of the principle of not jumping over the Lord's body can be broken to serve the Lord. But my jumping over the Lord's body in order to feed my own stomach to get my prasadam is not correct. That is what we say is not being fanatic, is we always have to understand the principle of what has to be done. Serving the Lord is the highest principle, and that helps us prioritize under different time, places and circumstances what should be done and what should not be done. Right? So not being fanatic, taking this as an example, not being fanatic is really, really, really important. So why do we keep saying that we are not a religion, and in that phase of definition of how the definition of religion goes is because when we talk about the word religion, it kind of becomes a set of rules. The Vaishnava principle is not a set of rules, it is a principle. It is not that when it is said you cannot do this, which means you cannot do this in all circumstances. Like let's take another example. Srila Prabhupada. Right? The prevailing rule for all the Brahmanas would always that you will not cross over the ocean and go into the lands of the Malaysias, which is the Western countries, where people are so fallen that they have no idea what the principles of cleanliness, any other principles of God consciousness, nothing. You're not supposed to be crossing that. But because it was an instruction that to Srila Prabhupada that he's supposed to be going to the Western countries and preaching in English language, he did that. He did not say there's a principle, I'm not going to break the rule. What are you talking about? I'm going to just sit over here, wait for technology to evolve, for Zoom sessions to come in, and then I'll do Zoom calls. He did not wait for it, right? He broke that principle, and also in order to preach. There's so many such amazing examples that we can talk about, that these principles were broken only to be able to facilitate people getting and coming to Krishna consciousness. But these principles broken were with the boundary condition that the original principle of one being Krishna conscious and helping others being Krishna conscious is not broken. Even if that meant that Srila Prabhupada would go to the Western countries and have a room full of drunk people lying down and on the floor and listening to a little bit of Krishna consciousness, he tolerated all of that also. Even if it meant that to go to the Western countries, you had to stay in somebody's house, we ate meat, and he was keeping the bhoga in the same fridge as the family was keeping meat. By the principle, that should not be done. And that cleanliness needs to be one. But he tolerated all of that no, I have come over here to give Krishna consciousness to everybody. So now let's come back to the original topic of duty again. So in all of these things, so what is our duty? Our duty is to be Krishna conscious and also to make others Krishna conscious, right? How do we do that? We're supposed to be doing that by fully surrendering and following our previous acharyas. Surrender to a guru, learn from them this art of understanding the principle, look at them how they've been following this principle in every time, place and circumstances, being able to understand how to prioritize these principles and make sure that you're always right in being able to serve Krishna consciousness. That has to be done. You're supposed to be chanting, you're supposed to be reading and listening, you're supposed to be spreading out this entire information to others, and you're supposed to be doing practical services. These are very different things that Srila Prabhupada very practically has taught us. So that becomes our duty. He said the main principle is the single resolute purpose is to be Krishna conscious and to make others Krishna conscious, and it can be done in multiple ways. Right? So all of these services that we are talking about are very nice services, are different ways in which that main purpose of serving Krishna and pleasing Krishna and his representatives in the form of a guru can be achieved very nicely. One of the and we can see Srila Prabhupada's life as a whole as an example of how that can be done, and we can learn from that a lot. For those who have not read books such as Srila Prabhupada Lilamrita and Prabhupada the Messenger of God and all of those amazing books in which details about how Prabhupada did things day to day, I would humbly request to please read them, that you will be having the amazing connection with Srila Prabhupada, and then it helps us, right? There was a point at which Srila Prabhupada was having to make a decision saying, family members, my dear family members, please help me in preaching Krishna consciousness to others, because that's my Guru's instruction. He's literally begging his family members and they're not supporting him. At one point he just says to his wife, saying, you have to end up now choosing between tea and me. He's kind of made up his mind that he needs to go up to the process of spreading Krishna consciousness. He's been again and again getting that instructions of taking sannyas and going out. But he's saying, decide, tea or me? And the wife thinks it's a joke, and she says, tea. And he leaves. So he's all the other duties that he had towards his family, he said the purpose of spreading Krishna consciousness was more important. So he left the family. That's again and then the purpose of Krishna consciousness, spreading that Krishna consciousness, following his Guru's instruction, in the mind of Srila Prabhupada was always such a high level of understanding of his duty to do that, was, when he was in Vrindavan, he would go to Delhi to print these little pamphlets of Back to God magazine. He would not eat so many times in order to save money to get the money to do the printing. How many, we can fast for a day, 2 days, but doing that over and over again, mercifully to be able to give this message of Krishna consciousness to others. And then not just that, in Vrindavan and in Delhi, he's in all these different places, he's going and distributing his Back to God magazines himself, single-handedly, And in such extreme heat that there are so many cases in which she actually fainted and fell down. And nobody cared. For hours he had been passed out, fainted in heat by a heat stroke in Delhi, and somebody would pass by and recognize him and then take him, drag him back to a place where he can recover from the heat. But his purpose, understanding of the purpose was so strong that all of his inconveniences, no matter what, he would do them. His purpose of understanding of prioritization was to the extent when he went to US and he started practicing, preaching the message of Krishna consciousness to all the Western speaking, these hippies and all. He started from New York in a storefront, and then things expanded to San Francisco. It is close to the 2-year mark of when he went to reach the US. He became extremely ill. He became extremely ill to the point that it felt that he's going to leave his body. So at that time, Srila Prabhupada requests all his disciples in both the centers in New York and San Francisco that please chant continuously and pray to Krishna that the mission of my Guru has not yet completed. What was the mission he wanted to give? His mission was to give all of these books that stacked out over there. He wanted to make sure all of these books are available to us, and such strong understanding of principles, that strong knowledge base should be available to us for us to be able to understand what needs to be done in all circumstances. For us to be so solidly situated in Krishna consciousness that nothing can make us waver out of our purpose and nothing wavers us out from the purpose of spreading this out. So he said, my mission is not complete, please pray. And ultimately when he was recovering in San Francisco on the hilltop, they kind of rented out a place for him to rest so that he can recover his health. At that time he was like saying, my Guru Maharaj saved me, and he's saying that in the context that this knowledge that Guru Maharaj gave me is something that saved me, and I'm also giving you this so that you get saved. Right? And even in that, his understanding and purpose of Krishna consciousness and its prioritization was so high that he was saying, why are these students of mine, these disciples of mine spending so much of money in renting a place where I can rest, whereas this money can be used for the service of Krishna? He did not want anything for himself. That was his strong resolute. Right? And so, all these examples that I'm giving is just to help understand how we are supposed to be prioritizing Krishna consciousness over everything else for sure. But we also need to understand a very important aspect, which is the fact that Srila Prabhupada gave us so much. He went through so much for us. It also becomes a duty now to reciprocate. One of the principles of Krishna consciousness, if we read Nectar of Instruction, it talks about different ways in which loving exchanges with devotees are done. As a loving exchange with Srila Prabhupada, we are also supposed to be reciprocated with him by assisting him in his mission, which was the mission of his Guru, which was the mission of so on from Parampara, from Lord Chaitanya and so on. We have been connected to this great Parampara system where all of the previous acharyas have so selflessly given up so much so that we can get something. We cannot break that chain. That chain has to continue, that mercy has to continue flowing in terms of so many different services that we are supposed to be doing. So, we talked about the principle as being the duty being to serve Krishna in order for the pleasure of Krishna also, and that can be done in many ways. You are helping to cook, you are helping to clean the temple, you are helping to do so many different things. But there is one service in which is universal for everybody. It is not like, oh, this service has been allocated to you, this is your service, or since this is your service, you do this. There is one service which is always there for everybody. Jakto deke taro bole Krishna Upadesh. The service, this duty, this service of ours to do Sankirtan does not come with a clause saying do this service if it was allocated to you or assigned to you. That service came with no such clause. It said everybody has to do and everybody has to be preached. That is the vision that is needed for us, and that is what we are supposed to be taking. Now, when we are doing this Sankirtan, we understand the fact that this duty of doing Sankirtan is everybody's duty, but that does not have to be done as individuals. I'm going here, you go there, you do your thing, I do my thing. What is the name of this place where we are, it's ISKCON International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Srila Prabhupada had put in a lot of thought in calling it International Society for Krishna Consciousness. You know how we have associations? We have associations for lawyers, we have associations for doctors, we have associations for business owners, etc., etc. He did not say International Association for Krishna Consciousness, because an association means, oh, we just identify ourselves as being the same species, and you do your thing, I do my thing. The difference between an association and a society is, in a society, everybody does things collectively, as in the favor of everybody else together collectively. And that is what Srila Prabhupada's instruction was also, and he said that multiple times, is that in ISKCON you're supposed to be doing things mutually with cooperation with each other. That is why International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So this service of Sankirtan needs not be done alone. It has to be done collectively in such a way that the message goes out effectively to everybody, and these books don't stay here. That is the mission that we are supposed to be doing. I'll just take one example as the last point, and then we can take 2 minutes for any question and answer. We can think, what is the difference that I'm going to make in by going out if I'm not distributing books? Even that has an impact. I can share a leela of that during Prasadam. But when these little services that we are doing as part of Krishna consciousness, we don't understand the chain of how it goes, and the chain needs to continue. Like, I will take my example, for example, right? 2010 was the year when I first got my first Bhagavad Gita by my god brother, Bhagavad Prabhu, and he was doing this Sankirtan effort, distributing out books. I got the book from him. There's another god sister of mine who ultimately, when I went back to India, trained me into the principles and practically executing of Krishna consciousness a lot. These two together are very good. But had one not done the books, had not other than taken up the duty of being a mentor, I would not have been what I am. I still have a long way to cover, but looking back, there is a lot of darkness that I've left behind. And I'm grateful and merciful to these devotees who do such services. But why were they able to do this service? My Gurudev, he does a free online course, which has been one of the longest running courses. That is where my god sister, Guru Vandana Mataji, she had enrolled herself without even association of a temple, without association of anybody else. Had Gurudev not done that service, that soul would not have connected to Krishna consciousness and would not have helped me. Bhagavad Prabhu, in the similar ways, had sent out innumerable emails which Gurudev personally replied to him always and helped him develop the intelligence and knowledge to be able to approach everybody else. Had Gurudev not done that service, that would have not happened. But the chain does not end there. How did my Guru Maharaj come in connection with Krishna consciousness? I'm going to tell this very quickly. There's this, when you read the book, The Messenger of God, there's this episode in San Francisco where Srila Prabhupada is going from New York to San Francisco, and all the devotees in New York are saying, please don't go, because in San Francisco what they've arranged is this rock concert where all these drug addicts are going to be coming up with their rock instruments and all of those things, and what is old sannyasi is going to do in between all of them. But Srila Prabhupada, understanding the resolute purpose, said, I am going to go there no matter what. That event of that rock concert was so strong that its information, no, that's not in that book, because the other part of that goes into Gurudev's memoir. That news and that power of that spread across the coast to Austin, Texas, where my Guru Maharaj was. And he hitchhiked from there to San Francisco. I want to go to the place where such amazing things have been happening. And that is where he first met the Christ. So had Srila Prabhupada not taken the pain and made so much of sacrifice to go up and be in that environment, which at the end of the program he said this is not an environment for brahmacharis and sannyasis. But he still went in order to be able to give Krishna consciousness to everybody. The idea at the end, the important message over here is, no matter how much of difficulties we are facing, we have to understand the impact of what Srila Prabhupada has given us and the impact it can cause to innumerable lives out there. So let's please continue. My humble request is to continue this chain of mercy going on. Let's prioritize the duties based on spiritual identity higher than the duties which is coming out of the body. Let's not come up to a point where I slack, that say, oh no, you know what, I have to do certain grocery shopping, so I will not go for something. Do your grocery shopping in your time, do your Sankirtan in your time. We should be able to prioritize the fact that the duties that is coming out from our spiritual identity, from our parampara system needs to be happening. So, at the end, there are so many devotees in the last few weeks have been going out for doing Sankirtans, have been doing very nice programs. Please feel free to approach anybody. Like you can talk to me, you can talk to Sudarshan Prabhu over there, and there's so many other devotees who have been doing this interesting service over there. Please get connected. Please do these services. This is a service that everybody is supposed to be doing. This book should not be here in Temple Hall. We do a few more spaces for a few more chairs to come in. So I'll stop over there. We can take one question from me at 12. If there's any question or any comment, we can take that. And then we will stop. Right, thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Yep. Okay. Front.
Giants